Y'all stand up and sing with us.
There is always hope. There is peace in the storm, in the storm. Don't forget, He is Lord of all. There is a King of glory, there is a God who saves, one who's strong and mighty. Freedom is in His name. Open the gates of heaven, lift up the shout of praise. There is a lion roaring, Jesus the King of glory. Your eyes stand in awe, stand in awe. There is one, only one, where my help comes from. There is a King of glory, there is a God who saves, one who's strong and mighty. Freedom is in His name. Open the gates of heaven, lift up the shout of praise. There is a lion roaring, Jesus the King of glory. Nations bow, mountains shake at the sound of just one name. Over all, Jesus reigns.
Sing it with us. Come on.
Nations bow, mountains shake at the sound of just one name. Over all, Jesus reigns.
Here we go.
There is a King of glory, there is a God who saves. Come on, one who's strong and mighty. Freedom is in His name. Open the gates of heaven, lift up the shout of praise. There is a lion roaring, Jesus the King of glory. Jesus the King of glory.
All right. I just can't help but recognize as we sing that song and as we're about to worship God some more, that one fact can bring just a wide variety of different people together, right? It doesn't matter what background you come from, what kind of opinions you have, what your political leanings are, right? No matter what you've been through in your past or what you're going to go through in your future, we can come together in that one fact. There is a King of glory and there is a God who saves. Amen? You ready to worship Him some more this morning?
People come together, strangers, neighbors, our blood is one. Children of generations, of every nation, Don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth. God is madly in love with you. Take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where your help comes from. Whoa, whoa. Your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth. God is madly in love with you. Take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where your help comes from. Whoa, whoa. Go up as the walls come down. All creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. All His children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. Yeah, come on, sing it. Swing wide, all you heavens. Let the praise go up as the walls come down. On creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. All His children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. Swing wide, all you heavens. Let the praise go up as the walls come down. On creation, everything. His kingdom come. Yeah. Horses driven by kings. You cover the mountains, the valleys below, with the breath of your mighty wings. All treasures of wisdom and things to be known are hidden inside of your hand. And in this fortunate turn of events, you ask ask me to be your friend. You ask me to be your friend. And you are my first, you are my last, you are my future and my past. And you are my first, you are my last, you are my future and my past. The constellations are swimming inside the breath of your desire. Where could I run? Where could I hide from your heart's jealous fire? The treasures of wisdom and things to be known are hidden inside of your hand. And in this fortunate turn of events, you ask me to be your friend. You ask me to be your friend. And you are my first, you are my last, you are my future and my past. And you are my first, you are my last, you are my future and my past. You are the beginning and the end.
Come on, lift up that praise to God.
You are the beginning and the end.
You are.
You are the beginning and the end. Oh, you are the beginning and the end. And you are my first, you are my last, you are my future and my past. And you are my first, you are my last, you are my future and my
A clap and a shout of praise this morning. Yeah. Amen. Have a seat. So glad that you're here this morning. Welcome to Lifepoint. Happy Father's Day to all the dads in the room. Let's give the dads a big round of applause. Good deal. So glad to see all of you, whether you're watching online or you're here in person. So glad you're here in person. Good Lord willing and the creek don't rise almost applied last night, right? It was a little bit scary there for a little bit. I know the creek back behind my house was just about hitting the side of the bridge. So it was a little bit scary driving over it, seeing how I'm pretty sure it's going to collapse at any time anyway. But really, really great. So Matt, Todd, Q, Will, everybody but about 3 people on our staff are gone. They're at the beach for a beach retreat this weekend. So you're stuck with me. Sorry about that. Good news is the music guy teaches, we get out on time. Go ahead and make lunch plans. It's safe. So we got that going on. And Andy and the band did an amazing job as always, didn't they? Give them a big round of applause. Great stuff. Thank you for being, especially if you're a guest. Thank you so much if you're a guest with us this morning. You got a card. There's a card in your seat when you came in. Please fill that out. Just whatever information you feel comfortable giving us. We want to meet you. We want to get to know you. I'm going to be hanging out here at the first-time guest area as soon as we're done. I would love to meet you today, give you a gift just for showing up. So come on back and let's get to know each other a little bit. That would be awesome. A couple of quick things. You might have noticed the giant boom box. I don't know. It's not that noticeable. But you might have noticed that. Courtesy of Mike Monday right there, Mike Guyver, who built that. Yeah. But Summer Blast starts tomorrow night. We're very, very excited. If you've got a child, they need to be here. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We're going to have games. We're actually going to have trucks outside that are set up with video game stations so that they can go and play video games in the back of a truck, which sounds really cool. But that's going to be really, really cool. If you still want to help out, there's a place you can sign up over here in the Next Steps area. And also, if you want to go ahead and get your kids registered today so you don't have to worry about that tomorrow night when you show up, out here in our new foyer, there's a place for them to register for this week. It's tomorrow night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. Starts at 6 o'clock, ends at 8 o'clock. There'll be a meal for them so you don't have to worry about feeding them before you get them here. We'll take care of all that. So make sure that you come and be a part of that. You really, really don't want to miss it. I'm really excited. We're starting a brand new series this morning called Nick and Q's Summer Playlist. Matt and Todd decided we should call it Nick and Q's Summer Playlist so that they had deniability. But we've got some of me and Q's favorite songs that we're going to be doing over the course of the summer that will kind of go along with what we're teaching each week. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun, and we're going to start off with one of my favorite songs of all time here in just a minute. So you do not want to miss that. Before we do anything else, though, let me do this. I want to pray for the fathers in the room real quick. If you're near a dad, put a hand on them, and let's say a prayer, and then we'll get going further. God, thank you so much for your love. Thank you, God, that you are our Father. And God, thank you so much for the fathers in this room that model that in their lives, God, that model your love. And God, I just pray for all of them, God. No, there's not a dad in this room that's perfect. And so, God, I just pray that you would just be with them. God, restore them when they need restored, love them when they need loved. And God, just help them to father their children in the way that you would have them. And God, let it bring glory and honor to you. It's in your name we pray. All right, stand up. Tell somebody how glad you are to see them. And we'll get back going here in just a second.
You are my first. You are my last. You are my future and my past. And you are my first. You are my last. You are my future and my past.
A long, long time ago, I can still remember how that music used to make me smile.
Long, long time ago, I could still remember how that music used to make me smile. And I knew if I had the chance that I could make those people dance, and maybe they'd be happy for a while. But February made me shiver With every paper I delivered, bad news on the doorstep. I couldn't take one more step. I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride, but something touched me deep inside the day the music died. So bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. Do you write the book of love, and do you have faith in God above? If the Bible tells you so. Do you believe in rock and roll? Can music save your mortal soul? Can you teach me how to dance real slow? Well, I know that you're in love with him, 'cause I saw you dancing in the gym. You both kicked off your shoes. Yeah, I dig those rhythm and blues. I was a lonely teenage rockin' buck with a pink carnation and a pickup truck, but I knew I was out of luck the day the music died. We started singing bye-bye, this American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys and drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. For 10 years we were on our own. Moss grows heavy on a rolling stone, but that's not the way it used to be. The Quintessers sang for the king and queen in a code he borrowed from James Dean, and a voice that came from you and me. And as the king was looking down, the jester stole his thorny crown. Courtroom was adjourned. No verdict was returned. And as Lennon read the book of Marx, a quartet practiced in the park. We sing dirges in the dark the day the music died. We started singing bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. I met a girl who sang the blues, and I asked her for some happy news, and she just smiled and turned away. I went down to that sacred store where I heard the music once before, but the man said the music wouldn't play. In the streets the children screamed, the lovers cried, the poets dreamed, but not a word was spoken. The church bells all were broken. And the three men I admire the most, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, they took the last train for the coast the day the music died. So bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. Bye-bye, Miss this American pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die.
All right. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Technical difficulties with the TV, so no TV this morning. That's just the way it's going to be. All right. So glad once again that you're here. If you don't know, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Nick. I'm the worship arts pastor here, and I'm also the guy that they say, hey, we're all going to be out of town, so you're in charge that Sunday. That happens too. I love music. Obviously, music is a big part of my life. And one of the great things I love about music is all about, like, perception. Like a song that you say you don't like, or it means nothing to you, or, that's fine, might mean the world to me. A song that you might listen to and get nothing spiritual out of, I might get a lot of it spiritual out of it. There's some Christian songs that, that I go, I don't really like that song. And they're not the Bible, so it's okay. You can not like a Christian song. I mean, there's some Christian songs that are so bad that I think Jesus goes, hey, could you just keep my name out of it? I just really appreciate it. And then there's some songs that may not have been written necessarily for a Christian reason or for a Christ reason that, man, I listen to them, I worship. Because they just have this something about them that just speaks to me, and it actually moves me closer to God. Because that is the cool thing about art in general. Once art is on display, whether it's a song, whether it's a painting, once art is on display, it no longer belongs to the artist. It now belongs to the person who is hearing it or who is seeing it, for them to deal with, to interpret, to make their own. And I love that. I love that about art. It's one of my favorite parts about art. And one of the reasons why I picked this song is because there's a million ways to interpret it. I mean, there's so much going on in Miss America, in American Pie, which, by the way, it was written in 1971, so it is 50 years old this year. I don't know if that makes anybody feel old. But it's 50 years old this year, and Don McLean has talked several times about what it means, why he wrote it. It was kind of a product of coming out of the 60s. I hear that was a little bit of a crazy time, and kind of the political changes and the environment of that time, of everything that was going on. And there's all sorts of really, really cool references in it. The day the music died, obviously, if you didn't know, refers to the day that Richie Valens, Buddy Holly, and the Big Bopper died in a plane crash. Three guys, if you've never heard any of their music, go look up Richie Valens, Buddy Holly, and the Big Bopper. Great musicians, great artists. And there's so much of the, while the king was looking down, the jester stole his thorny crown. The king is Elvis, of course. And while he was looking down, Bob Dylan arose. He was the jester. So there's just all sorts of, I met a girl who sang the blues. It was referring to Janis Joplin. And it's just so much really, really cool stuff about that song. And we all perceive that song differently because of maybe where we come from, our life, our culture, where we were when we heard it. When we heard it, maybe we heard it in a really sad time in our life, so that song really has some, brings up some kind of sad emotions. Maybe we heard it for the first time at a place when we were really, really happy, so it brings up some really, really happy emotions. Perception is a funny thing because however you perceive something becomes your reality. That's the way it is. Maybe you perceive me as a jerk. Maybe I walked by you in the foyer one Sunday and I didn't say anything to you, which has probably happened to 90% of the people in this room. Because usually on Sunday mornings, I'm just running around like a crazy person trying to make sure everything's working right. and maybe I didn't. So maybe your perception of me is I'm a jerk. So the reality is to you that I'm a jerk. Well, you don't know I'm a jerk. If you got to know me, you might find out I am a jerk. But that perception becomes your reality because you don't know any better. You don't know any different. And that's one of the things that I love about music is because any song can mean 100 things to 100 different people. And if we look back over our lives, I bet we could just about create a soundtrack of our lives. First song I ever remember running around the house singing was I Love a Rainy Night by Eddie Rabbitt. Anybody know that one? I love a rainy night. I love a rainy night. And I didn't know any of the words, so that's all. I would just run around the house going, I love a rainy night. I love a rainy night. And I think that's when my mom started introducing me to a lot more music, so I would just stop singing those words over and over and over again. I think it was shortly after that I learned the Dukes of Hazzard theme song and started singing that all the time. And then Uptown Girl. Uptown Girl was a big one. Loved that song when I was a kid. And started singing that. Now, when I was in high school playing football, I used to get pumped up to Enter Sandman by Metallica. Yeah, sleep with one eye open. Let's go! I'm not very mean or aggressive in real life, so I need help. But man, I would get excited. I would get going. Me and my wife's wedding song was "You're Still the One" by Shania Twain, but not by Shania Twain. We actually did the punk version. You should check it out. It's really cool. But did that. It's funny. Part of my kind of childhood left us a couple of weeks ago. B.J. Thomas. I don't know if you are familiar with B.J. Thomas, but he died a couple of weeks ago. Raindrops Are Falling on My Head. That's probably his most famous song. I'm sure you've heard that one over the years. But a lot of people don't know that B.J. Thomas actually made several gospel records. And when we would get up in the morning, get ready for church when I was a kid, my dad would put on a B.J. Thomas record. And that record would just blast through the whole house while we were getting ready for church. That voice, it doesn't matter. If I'm ever listening to anything and B.J. Thomas comes on my playlist, I'm immediately transported back to that. Immediately back a kid, just listening to B.J. Thomas as we got ready to go to church. And man, music can do that too, man. It can just transport you to the time when you heard it or a time when it meant something to you. It's crazy how that happens, and it's all about our perception of it. Several years ago, my band that I used to tour with, Someday Heaven, we were playing at a church somewhere not far from here. I won't say the name of the church. But we were doing a youth rally, and there was about 50 youth there, man. We were having a blast. We were rocking it out. Kids were going crazy. We were doing this song called Sing Like the Saved. When we got to the chorus of Sing Like the Saved, I used to just have the kids just jump up and down and go crazy. And all of a sudden, the sound and the lights went out. I was like, that's weird. And the pastor of the church, who was there, walked up to the front of the church and said, I won't have this in my church. This is bar music. And shut us down. Send us home. Interesting evening. And his perception of rock music was that rock music wasn't for church. Rock music was for the bars. I wonder if he would have enjoyed American Pie this morning. And so we have to kind of, perception can be a funny thing because our minds are powerful. I don't know if you figured that out yet. Are very, very powerful. So once we perceive something to be true, sometimes it's really, really hard to convince our brains it's not. Or once we perceive something to be untrue, it can be really, really hard to convince them that it's true. Because these jokers lock down stuff, and they don't want to let it go. One last thing about art that I love, and my TV's not working, so I hope Nikki's paying attention. This is a quote by John Lennon. I hope you know who John Lennon is. If you don't know who John Lennon is, we'll talk afterwards. My role in society, he's singer for the Beatles. My role in society, or any artist or poet's role, is to try and express what we all feel. Not to tell people how to feel. Not as a preacher, not as a leader, but as a reflection of us all. And like I said earlier, man, I love that aspect of art. Art doesn't ever tell you how to feel. Art just reflects an emotion, a feeling, and then it enters our ears or our eyes, and then we get to make it a feeling of our own. We get to connect it to an emotion of our own. And man, I love that about music. There's just something about it that can just transport us. That can change how we feel, change how we're doing. There's certain songs, man. If I'm in a bad mood, I put on that song. I'm good to go. There's certain songs, if I want to cry, put on that song. I'm good to go. When my girlfriend broke up with me my freshman year of college, there was a song called "There's a Light in Your Eyes." Now I remember listening to that song 20 times, just following my. I don't know why. Why do we do that? But we do, don't we? We do. It's like, I'm sad. Let's get sadder. And we do. I don't know if you know that there's a light in your eyes. Did you leave that light burning for me? That was the song. What a stupid song to listen to after a breakup. It was awful. So perception is kind of the theme this morning. So I want to talk to you about some things that were going on in Jesus' day as far as perception. Different John. This is not John Lennon. This happens right after Jesus feeds the 5,000. Okay, so this is like the verse after that story. If you've never read that story, read the first part of John chapter 6. It's a beautiful story. And so basically Jesus, if you don't know the story, Jesus has taken a couple loaves of bread, a couple pieces of fish, and he has fed 5,000 men. Most scholars believe that they only counted men back then. So it's probably closer to 10 or 12,000. A little sexist, I know. But that's just kind of the way it went. So he's just fed this huge, gigantic crowd. And it says, when the people saw the sign that he had done, they said, "This is indeed the prophet who has come into the world." Now, there's a reason that prophet is capitalized in the text here. Basically, they thought that he was Moses returning to get them. That's what that word prophet means. It means a prophet like or a prophet like Moses or Moses. See, if you don't know, during this time, Israel is under Roman rule. The Roman government has taken them over, and they don't have their own government. They are completely under Roman control. And it was a very oppressive government. It was a government that did not let them do a lot of the things they wanted to do. It did not let them be the people that they thought they should be. They were paying taxes, a whole lot of taxes to the Roman government. And they were basically being told what to do all the time. And so just like Moses had come into Egypt and taken them out of that bondage, Israel expected him to show up again, or a prophet just like him to show up again and fix stuff. Overthrow the government, take back the land that God had promised them, be the new king, the new ruler, and take back with fight, with war, with strength, with power, to take it all back. And so, between this and the other things that Jesus has done, they're like, good, this is the guy, crown him. Let's go to war, baby. This is our guy. But then it goes on in John in verse 16. It says, verse 15, perceiving then that they were about to come and take him by force to make him king, Jesus withdrew again to the mountain by himself. See, Jesus knew that wasn't the plan. Jesus knew that he wasn't here to rule an earthly kingdom. He was here to create a heavenly kingdom. And it was going to look a whole lot different than what they expected. And that's the trouble with perceptions, especially with bad perceptions, is they can mislead us. And perceptions turn into expectations. And when expectations aren't met, that equals frustration, right? And so we're going to find throughout this that the Israelites are going to get more and more and more frustrated with Jesus. Because he is not living up to their perception. He is not living up to their expectation. Now, Jesus' perception is pretty good, as you notice. He perceived they were about to come take him by force, and he's Jesus, so his perception is probably pretty good. And he was right. That's what was about to happen. And so everything is turned upside down. Everything's turned on its head. Everything that they thought was going to happen is not going to. It's not happening right. So we see the largest crowd that we've seen following Christ at this moment in time, when he's fed the 5,000, and these thousands and thousands of people are following Jesus. And then what's going to happen over the rest of the course of the Gospels is we're going to see folks increasingly get frustrated, increasingly have their perceptions demolished, increasingly having their expectations wiped out, and increasingly leaving. Like, nah, it's not what I signed up for. As a matter of fact, instead of becoming king and going to war, Jesus says this: "You have heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also." Kind of the opposite of overthrowing a government, right? He's saying, hey guys, I'm not here to fight. And a few more people in the back of the crowd just walked out. It's not what I signed up for. This is not what I was hoping would happen. And then he goes on. "And if anyone would sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well." What? Let me ask you, anybody sues you for $10,000, are you going to go, "Hi, here's 20? No, not going to happen. But that's kind of what he's saying. If anybody takes your tunic, man, just go and give him your cloak. And he's saying this, all of this is very, very purposeful. All of this is very, very pointed. He's saying this to a people that he knows what they expect. And so he's trying to get them to understand that what they expect has got to change. And then this last line, if the other stuff didn't make them leave, this last line really does. "And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Who would have forced an Israelite to go a mile? A Roman. They pretty much had to do whatever the Romans said, right? Matter of fact, it was common practice in that day for a Roman soldier, if he got tired of carrying his own armor around, to find one of those Israelites and just say, "Hey, I got to walk a mile to this other town, carry my armor." And they just had to drop whatever they were doing. Doesn't matter if they were going that way or not. And they had to carry this soldier's armor for a mile. Can you imagine that? Well, I mean, we don't even want to help anybody move. Somebody the other day said something about moving, and I said, "Hey, if you need any help at all, man, I've got a couple of moving companies' numbers, and I can give them to you." Here's the deal, guys. If you're in this room and you're over 35, do not ask your friends to help you move. Someone will get hurt. It will just happen, okay? Don't do it, all right? Nobody wants to help you move for a pizza. Hey, man, I'll buy the pizzas. I can buy my own pizza. I just don't want to move your couch. All right? So hopefully that's done. Nobody's going to ask me to help them move. Good. All right. Got something else accomplished in this message this morning. So, I mean, that last line, that is really, really flying in the face of what they were hoping the outcome of this thing would be. Not only are we not overthrowing the Roman government, we got to go further in serving the Roman government. Not only are these soldiers not going to be taken out, but he wants us to do more for them. Jesus is trying to change the language. He's trying to change the culture. He's trying to change the attitude of the people and letting them know, hey guys, this thing is not a kingdom of war. This thing is not a kingdom of fighting. This thing that I'm building, it's based on love. This thing that I'm building is based on something bigger and more beautiful than anything you've ever perceived, than anything you've ever imagined. And I need you to change your mind. And a few more people in the back walked out. Matter of fact, we went from 12,000 to Last Supper, there were 12. A lot of people left. A lot of people left because their expectations went unmet. Their perceptions, they couldn't change them. They couldn't work around them. And what scares me about myself and what scares me as us as people is that will be the same for us. How many times do our perceptions get in the way of our love? How many times do our perceptions get in the way of living like Christ lives, of loving like Christ loved? How many times do we perceive that I won't like somebody because I know I don't agree with them on some things? That would never happen, right? There's no big disagreements in our world at all right now, are there? But I perceive that I can't have a relationship. I can't love someone because maybe they disagree with me politically. You get cold? I perceive that I can't love someone the way Christ loves them because maybe their faith looks different than mine. Maybe their life looks different. Maybe they're just a little too different. And so I perceive, my perception is that person may be unreachable, that person may be unlovable, or that person can never be any part of my life because something is different from them than me. And so I perceive that everything is, right? We do that. I hate that we do that. If you disagree with somebody on one subject, you just assume you disagree with them on all subjects and you won't even try to have a relationship with them. Some of that stuff's weird. Some of my best relationships, some of the relationships that mean the most to me in my life, that challenge me, that make me more, that make me better, are with people that I don't agree with on about everything. As a matter of fact, if all you do is hang out with people that agree with you, you're just going to be doing a lot of this. And there's not any growth. If you hang out with somebody you disagree with, you might learn something. Who knows? But the problem is our perception is our reality. Unless we figure out how to turn the switch and change that. And the only way that you can change perception is to find the actual reality. See, if you get to know someone, you might find out, oh, that's actually a good person. We just disagree on some stuff. It's actually a person I really like to know. We just don't agree on this particular issue or this particular issue. Because we don't like it when people have perceptions about us, do we? No. Because nobody in this room ever sits around people watching and you see somebody and immediately decide everything about them. That's never happened, right? And so guess what? Somebody's people watching you, and you walk up and you do something weird. So that's a weird dude. And their reality for the rest of their life, if they never get to know you, is that's a weird dude. Or you say something off-putting, so they just assume you're a jerk for the rest of their life because they never get to know you. And my other big concern is, guys, I don't know if you know this, but there's a perception in our world about the church right now. There's some perceptions that aren't so good. Like, there's a whole lot of people who believe the church cares more about politics than people. There's a whole lot of people that their perception of the church is that we're a whole lot more interested in what we are against than what we are for. And I don't like those perceptions because this is my church, and I know the people in this room, a lot of you, and that's not true of you. But it's the perception. How will that perception change if we don't engage them? If we don't get over our perceptions and love people the way Christ loves them? I'm telling you, man, this thing is powerful. It will turn one act you see from someone or one thing that you hear from someone, it'll turn it into your reality of them. Unless you decide to actively engage people and find out who they really are. The only way to get over bad perception is to actually have communication. Meet people where they are, love people where they are, and get to know them. Crazy idea, right? But we've got to do it. We've got to move on. Last thing, right behind me, bottom line. Let your love move you past your perceptions. We got a saying around here. It's 3 words. Anybody remember it? Love is why. Love is why we've got to stop. We've got to stop judging people from afar and start getting to know people up close. Love is why we've got to abandon our perceptions and get into relationships with people. Change our way of thinking. And love people the way Christ loves us. Love each other the way Christ loves us. All right, let me pray for you. God, thank you so much that, God, there's a whole lot of perceptions about me that I even have about me that, God, make me feel really unlovable sometimes. But you broke through all that, God. None of that hindered your love, God. None of that challenged your pursuit of me. You decided not to have perceptions about me. You decided to engage with me and love me where I am. And I'm so grateful for that, God. And I pray that me as a person, God, that I can do that. I pray that we as a church can do that. If you're here this morning and you don't have a relationship with God, maybe your perception is that you're not good enough. Maybe your perception is He won't love me the way that I am. Let me be the person that tells you your perceptions are wrong. He loves you just the way you are. He wants to have a relationship with you just the way you are. And all you have to do is say, God, I know I've messed up. Please forgive me. Jesus, I believe in you. I put my trust in you. You can have a relationship with the Creator God who loves us so much that He'd rather die than live without us. Sometimes I think the scariest misperceptions or the most misleading perceptions that we can have in our life are actually of ourselves. But you're enough. You are enough. Because He's made us enough. God, just be praised with our lives, God, and let our love shine as yours does. It's in your name we pray. Stand and sing with us.
God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of light. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born, and the vapor of your breath the planets form. If the stars were made to worship, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you made. Every burning star, a signal fire of grace. If creation sings your praises, so will I. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, no syllable empty or void. For once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. And as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath, evolving in pursuit of what you said. If it all reveals your nature so alive, I can see your heart in everything you say. Every painted sky, a canvas of your grace. If creation still obeys you, so will I. So will I. worship so alive. If the mountains bow in reverence so alive, if the oceans roar your greatness so alive, for if everything exists to lift you high, so alive. If the wind goes where you send it, so alive. If the rocks cry out in silence, so alive. If the sum of all our praises still falls shy, then we'll sing again 100 billion times. Whoa, God of salvation, you chased down my heart through all of my failure and pride. On the hill you created, light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die. And as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. Where you lost your life so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you so alive, I can see your heart and everything you've done. Every part designed in a work of art called love. If you gladly chose surrender so alive, I can see your heart in a billion different ways. Every precious one, a child you died to save. If you gave your life to love them so alive, like you would again 100 billion times, measure could amount to your desire. You're the one that never leaves the one behind.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for worshiping together with us. Offering buckets are in the back. We love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Thank you. Y'all have a blessed day.
That eat 100 billion creatures catch their breath.